being started. Can those in the HQ stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Approval of the agenda. I think we have a couple of things, one to be added, one to be removed. Commissioner Kinney?
Yes, thank you. I was hoping that we might be willing to remove under approval of meeting minutes, June 21, 22 regular meeting. I had looked at that yesterday and I was looking at it regarding the chair discussion, and I wasn't thinking about the vice chair discussion, and I was looking at it just before the meeting, and I see the resignation of the vice chair and the election of the vice chair are not in there. So I'm wondering, can we withdraw that or hold off on that? Come back to that at the next regular meeting and get that drafted into those minutes. So I'm hoping we can withdraw that. I'm hoping we might be willing to add into executive session 12C collective bargaining pursuant to RCW 4230-144B.
Yes, for the exec session though, what I would like to do is move that. So do the property acquisition as A, and then the CBA as B, and then move the candidate qualifications to C, if that makes sense.
That sounds good.
And then that way we can get people out that need to be out for those things. Do we have a second for those items? Commissioner Lawrence, you second that? All those in favor say aye.
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 All right, all those opposed by the same? All right, so we have removed 5A, effectively item 5, and added an item to 12. With that being done, do we have an approval for the new agenda?
I so move.
We have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Chan, thank you. And all those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All those opposed by the same? All right, motion carries. Consent agenda. So we have engine number 113 reimbursement for action. Procurement contracts administrator. Do we need to go through that or just, I don't think so. Payroll summary and authorization for June of 2022. Healthcare EFT claims totaling $28,708.94. Healthcare EFT claims totaling $35,182.23. Claims voucher 11897 to 11936 totaling $373,586.82. Claims vouchers 11937 to 11959 totaling $47,139.62. Claims vouchers numbers 11961 to 12016 totaling $549,174.24. Do we want to go individually or collectively? Do we have any questions? All right, so there's a motion to vote on the consent agenda collectively. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Kenny. All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion passes. And the consent agenda. Motion to pass the consent agenda as it is. Commissioner Teoflack. And looks like seconded by Commissioner Lawrence. All those in favor of the consent agenda as it stands, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. On down to public comment. Wow. We're clicking right along here. Anybody from the attendee side of the Zoom meeting wish to raise your hand, make a comment? Seeing none, go ahead and go on to the fire chief's report.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, Commissioners. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Good. Okay. As you know, I emailed you an update for South County Fire related to the COVID pandemic and our first watch operational report. So I'll just summarize. In the county, we're over 200 people with COVID per 100,000, and we were 12% busier since our last board meeting as compared to 2021. Commissioners, we have a few slides tonight. We're going to be starting with National Night Out. Commissioners, a reminder that our next board meeting coincides with National Night Out on August 2nd. The RFA will be participating in 4 specific location events across the RFA, and we will be making additional neighborhood site visits within 2 of our cities and designated county unincorporated areas. I also want to mention that the Tour de Terrace Parade is a great event in Mount Lake Terrace, and it's being held this Friday. Staging begins at 5:45 p.m. at Fire Station 19 for South County Fire personnel. So Commissioners, please contact PIO Leslie Hines if you are interested in participating. And with our next slide, I'm very pleased to announce that one of our firefighters that joined our organization in the very first academy, the very first Snohomish County Fire Training Academy in 2018-1, Christina Winter, has graduated as a firefighter paramedic with her graduation and completion of the University of Washington Harborview Paramedic Training Class number 48. Commissioners, as you know, we've been talking a lot about paramedics and the need for them in the organization and the limited spots down at Harborview. Christina did an excellent job. We're extremely proud of her. She's now returned to South County Fire to apply those skills to residents of the RFA. So great job, firefighter, paramedic Christina Winter. And finally, Commissioners, I am proud to announce that effective today, firefighter Skylar Peterson has been promoted to the rank of captain. Captain Peterson joined Fire District 1 as a firefighter in July of 2016. She's currently serving on day shift as a company officer at the RFA's Summer Fire Training Academy, where myself, other chief, and staff were able to make the announcement of her moving on to being a captain in our organization in front of the entire Summer Training Academy recruits earlier today, where this picture was taken on the right. And I want to say congratulations, Skylar. I see that you are also logged on with your wife, Lauren, who, Commissioners, is a member of the North Shore Fire Department. And I want to say congratulations to both of you, your daughter, Finn, who I'm sure has a big smile on her face tonight and can't even say captain, and all the rest of the Peterson family. So great job, Skylar. We're looking for great things for you right now and in the future of our organization. So Commissioners, thank you for the opportunity to provide my fire chief report this evening, and staff would welcome any questions from the board.
I don't have any. Oh, Commissioner Chan, go ahead.
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to compliment Melissa. I don't remember, Melissa, when you first got on, I was asking that we need the news, get all the news so we can read. You did a good job today. It's a really busy news. Chip, I think you were gone. I said I read a few weeks ago the problem with the Everett Providence Hospital. The emergency room is really completely overwhelmed. And now today's article, there's a couple of things. It's not just them, it's Washington's, the whole state. The hospitals are really overwhelmed. I read in an article that this person from Lazy, he's a chief of fire chief, is mentioned about 4.5 hours waiting in there. I think that we really need to solve the problem in here. What is your take on that?
That chief is the chief of the Washington Fire Chiefs Association, the state, right. And he had mentioned in his interview with King 5 that I saw too, that the longest wall wait he's heard about is 4.5 hours, and that's extremely long. But you know, I don't know how we solve that problem without additional funding for the hospital system. We talked really early on about bed capacity across all the counties in Washington state, and it happens all over the nation. There just has not been enough dollars, local or federal, put to developing hospitals. emergency room beds and just intake beds, ICU, that's commensurate with having a pandemic.
But I think on top of that, procedure-wise, maybe there's a lot of people may not need to go to the emergency room. I mean, I think it's a whole cycle in here. I'm not trying to solve the whole thing, but we need to be as commissioner or politically or whatever it is, we got to get this going. Otherwise, 4.5 hours being not available is not a good way to available. And then on top of that, you got traffic jam and everything else.
It causes a lot of stress in our system. I see Chief Eastman's raised his hand, part of our activation at the DMCC, to navigate where all of the different fire departments would go to, which hospital. People don't have a preference anymore that they can say, I want to go to this, because whether it's Providence or Swedish or out in Monroe, they may just be full and get turned away. In the first 25 years of my career, I could think of just 2 or 3 activations ever when that would happen. Now with the pandemic, it's happened week over week. It's about supply chain of human capital, those people that want to work in the hospital system, that's part of it as well. And just a lot of people, we as EMS providers have very limited options when someone calls and we need to get them to the hospital. There's not much in between. And part of what we did, and commissioners, thank you for supporting that, the CRP program, to try to, stop, I would call it recidivism, right? Commissioner Kinney, I think that's the right word for a criminal, but getting people to, get help in different formats and to not get to hospitals, I think is going to be key. But this is a huge picture, a big picture item. We are the fastest growing county in the state of Washington. We don't have enough hospital beds. We're in the middle of a pandemic and people are living longer. And how do you make all of that come together? It's really hard. What the chief talked about today is something that we've been talking about organizationally really since January 18th of 2020. When we took that first patient to the hospital, we knew these days were coming. And there's no easy, clear answer for it. It's like everything. It takes money and it takes commitment. And it's certainly above our pay grades here. Our bandwidth to be able to do that, but we need to look at alternative outcomes and alternative locations for people to be able to get lower acuity care when they need it. And how can we make them stay healthier as much as we can, whether that's falls prevention. And it makes me think of a conversation we had about the announcement about Council Member Johnson, Commissioner Chan, earlier this week. How do we get people to the right place at the right time and get them healthy? So I'll leave it at that.
I just thinking, I read the article, it's statewide, so the state has money, so they got to do it. But I'm just urgent again, we probably need a task force to do it.
I think you're onto something with the legislative when you talk about, the Fire Commissioners Association, state chiefs, the State Council of Firefighters. We really need to reinforce, lessons learned. And what the lessons are for us is, we need to continue to do our business and we need to do the pandemic, when it does happen. So. Yeah,
individually, I need to contact the 2 representatives and the senator to put in the issues in their legislation. Why? Now, another article I saw about the East Side Rescue Fighter, the lawsuits against a wrongful termination. Do you think we might still have some exposure to that, or the particular situation is they are the $171 million? That's a lot of money.
Yeah, I don't think that we're in that situation, Commissioner Chan or commissioners, thankfully. The way it was navigated, I just hate to comment on much more about it in this meeting just because it's pending litigation, and I do have some contact with those chiefs over there.
Okay. That would be good. This is just kind of my eye just wide open. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chief Eastman, did you want to add to the conversation? You had your hand up.
What I was going to say is that South County is actively involved in the challenges we see with the hospitals at the forefront, been doing it for over a year now. So rest assured, Commissioner Chan, we are there and engaged and will maintain engagement.
Well, I think maybe a further discussion, how do we strategize? How do we, on all commissioner, administration, unions, all pull together and really make our voice known to the people?
All right, thank you. Thank you, Chief, for your report.
You're welcome. Thank you, commissioners.
On to the union report from Chris Gorin.
Georgian, keep it easy.
Georgian, sorry.
George with an N on the end.
Yeah, I added an R in there, I think.
That's okay. Gorgonzola, I get that a lot. Good evening, Commissioner Daniels and the rest of the commissioners. Thank you for having us speak tonight. Well, I am happy to say I think we are at the end of what has been a very productive negotiating session, and we're really happy to be able to present the final product, hopefully early next week, to our membership after some meetings to kind of explain the changes that have come out of this process. But I really wanted to thank the entire team on the other side for their professionalism. I think both sides did an excellent job of clearly communicating wants and needs and providing the data behind that. And so it made the process a lot smoother and just a lot more clear. And anyway, I just felt like it was, as someone who came in at the tail end of the last negotiations, I think some of the frustrations that came out of that, I was apprehensive we might carry that in. And I think the legal counsel, Mr. Swedlow, did a good job of keeping things moving. And anyway, I just want to thank everyone involved on both sides, HR and Susan, kind of some of the unsung heroes that are in the room and deal with a lot of what happens and what's said, but maybe don't get to speak as much. So chiefs and everybody involved, thank you. And we just appreciate that how it went this time. We thought it was very professional and effective. I checked with Mr. Hoover tonight. We don't have a whole lot of other announcements. That's kind of been taking all of our time, energy, and effort as of late. And we're just looking forward to presenting a completed contract to our folks and hopefully getting that ratified. I'm happy to take any questions. And I'm Mr. Rowland, Commissioner Rowland. We haven't met yet, but I'm looking forward to getting to meet you in person. I think you're the only one I haven't actually met in person yet. So welcome.
Helps if I unmute myself. Chris, you're out there at station 21, right?
I am. I'm a medical services officer at 21.
All right. Thank you for your report. Are there any questions?
Nobody? All
Look
right.
at that. You got off easy.
Thank you very much for your time, everyone. Have a great night.
Thanks, you too. All right, we'll go on to unfinished business. Station 11 roof replacement. Chief Isotelo.
Yeah, good evening, Chair and Board. You'll find on page 91 of your packet an agenda bill outlining the key points of the conversation we had back on the 12th about the replacement of the roof for Station 11. And staff's brought forward a board resolution for your consideration tonight for a budget amendment to fund that project. And so I'll take any questions if there are any, and appreciate your consideration of passing the resolution.
I don't see any questions. The chair would like to entertain a motion to adopt the adoption of resolution 07192022-13.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Kenny and seconded by Vice Chair Rowland. Any questions about the motion?
One quick question is this the only station right now that's in need of a roof replacement that we're aware of?
Yeah,
Right.
it is. Yes, sir. The facilities team has looked into that. They're actually out looking at potential items that may need to be repaired in the next 1 to 3 years for board consideration, potentially in the budget process that's upcoming. But
Perfect.
right
Thank
now,
you.
this is the only roof. Yes, sir.
Oops, Commissioner Chan, you got to unmute yourself. I got the same problem tonight.
Well, I'll be careful not to make any noise here. It seems to me, I'm glad you guys were, I think as Commissioner Kenny talked about in the last meeting, that there's no discussion. It's leaking in the water and all that. Is that, are we able to catch them earlier than before they leak? I mean, is that all of a sudden, can we have a more better maintenance schedule or something, or inspection and that type of thing?
Yeah, it has been inspected and it has had repairs done over the years. It's just now leaking to the point where the contractors won't do any more repairs and say the recommended fix is an entire new roof. So we do have that in place, and the facilities team is out inspecting these regularly.
Okay, yeah, okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Any further questions? Thank you, Commissioner Chan. I was wondering the same thing if there are other roofs within the district that had similar issues. All right, seeing none, let's go ahead and vote on the motion. All those in favor of passing the resolution, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed by the same? Resolution passes. Annexation Committee. All right. Chair would like to entertain a motion to create a regionalization committee. Is there a motion for that? Commissioner Lawrence, is there a second? Vice Chair Rowland. All right.
Question on that.
Sure.
One of the concerns that was brought up was the using of a kind of a non-standard naming for the committee versus what it had been before. I don't know if we want to discuss that before we entertain the motion with a specific name for it and get that worked out first.
Okay. Well, now's the time to do that. What are you thinking?
So I know that Commissioner Chan brought up the fact that this used to be called the Intergovernmental Committee, and that seems to be kind of a standard committee name for other political organizations, city councils, things like that. So I understand that, you know, when we're going out there and talking to them, calling ourselves something that they're used to may be, you know, a good idea. That having been said, you know, I don't have strong feelings one way or the other. I just wanted to make sure we got it addressed.
Okay. Commissioner Lawrence.
Yeah, I'd like to know what the scope of this committee is going to be, and what the board members are to be doing, and what the staff is to be doing as far as communication with the various contracts cities that we have.
So as I understand it, the staffing would be Chief Hovis and Chief Eastman, and that also that Malik Terrace is looking to put this on the ballot in February, and Breyer's looking to put this on the ballot in April. So that would be the duration of the committee. Chief Hovis, are those dates correct?
To be determined, Chair Daniels, but early indications are as early as February of 2023 for a vote within the city of Mount Lake Terrace, and as early as April 2023 with the city of Breyer. Reminder, commissioners, the city of Mount Lake Terrace has formed a 3-person explore annexation to the RFA committee that consists of 2 more senior council members that were around during the early days of RFA talk in 2011 through 2013, and newer member of their council. And their city manager sits with that committee, as well as their deputy city manager and other staff, to include their finance director. So staff for the RFA, for my team to adjunct with the commission, would likely expand, as well as talks would go forward with both of those current contract cities.
So when we did the negotiations with Mill Creek, you had the committee, and who went and talked to the city?
Which times the intergozi, I was going to say Vice Chair Teoflack, but Commissioner Teoflack and other members of the intergovernmental were there, but primary lead was the city manager for the city of Mill Creek, and they had legal staff, members of their team. So it ebbed and flowed, Commissioner Lawrence.
Yeah, who from our organization did the meeting with the Mill Creek city personnel?
Originally, the quick kickoff meeting was myself and Commissioner Metter, Melissa Blankenship, I believe Chair Urban at the time, and Chief Eastman. It progressed from there. Primaries were myself, Chief Eastman, Leslie Hines, Rich Davis as needed, and then also towards the end, finance.
Okay, is this group, is this intergovernmental committee going to be operating the same way? Whoever wants to answer that, chief or the chair?
Is that a question for me, Commissioner?
Well, I'm not sure because I'm a little concerned that some about about mucking things up here in any particular way. So with Mountain Lake Terrace, so okay. So I want to know who's going to be talking to who when.
Yeah,
My
definitely.
understanding was that it was going to be staff would talk to staff and then potentially electeds would talk to electeds. That was my understanding of the committee, and that I had also earlier asked that Melissa be on our subcommittees to help with communication.
Yeah, and I apologize. I left Melissa off on some of those meetings too, Melissa. Sorry. Yeah, so I would just say from my perspective, it's a little bit of a dance. It's different, going to be different with every city. Briar has not yet appointed any council members. It's their mayor and their current city clerk / city administrator that we've been speaking with. And with Mount Lake Terrace, they have 3 council members that have been appointed to this ad hoc committee, if you will, to explore and have discussions. And I think in my discussions with City Manager Hugel, it from his perspective and mine, it would make sense if they're going to have 3 electeds from Mount Lake Terrace at any of these meetings, that we would have a number of our electeds there as well to reciprocate and build relationships, have discussions, and have a governance to conversation when it's appropriate. In the meantime, staff would, continue to work with staff when we get there, and City Manager Hugel would be a lead in that as well. It could be different in Briar, and it'll be, I think, different with every city. I'm thinking back to discussions with Mukilteo. Those certainly look different than they did with Mill Creek, and they probably will with Mount Lake Terrace and Briar and Edmonds. So,
All right, no, thank you.
yes, sir.
Thank you.
I understand. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Chan?
Oh, no, I'm just kind of explaining that this committee was requested by the chief Hovis to do that, and which doing exactly the same thing that Commissioner Mayor had done. And also that by law, we do not have permanent committee to stand to do with. So I think adding the word ad hoc is redundant, and we don't need to go to other city and say this is an ad hoc committee. And then also I like the intergovernmental is more friendlier way to talk to city, talk to other things with the city and other things too. So that to me, annexation is kind of like we're taking over. It doesn't sound too good. So that's why I'm saying we should go back to the intergovernmental committee. That sounds much better.
Yeah, I agree.
Commissioner Teofly? Thank you, Commissioner Chan.
So I was on the intergovernmental committee, and I didn't talk to anyone at Mill Creek because really I couldn't add any value, I felt like. With our current chief, he's been in our area in the firefighting service for over 2 decades, if correct me if I'm wrong. So he has a strong institutional knowledge of our geographic area with fire service. And so if a city has a question, chief or his staff are going to be the best ones to answer. I think our commissioners are great, but we are not working full time in this industry. So I don't believe that we'll be able to add value to other electeds if we're talking to other electeds. So I'm last year, whenever we did disbanded committees, that was something I was in support of, because committees give too much power to the people on the committee, and it's hard for the committee members to translate everything to the rest of the board. So the other people on the board, not in the committee, don't know as much. So I feel like we don't need to have this committee because our staff can handle the load. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Teofly. Commissioner Lawrence?
Yeah, I forget. Have we voted to have this committee? Has the board voted to have this committee? We did, and you appointed, right?
I tried to, but then I was informed that the board needs to make the committee, and then I can make the appointments. And so right now we're in a discussion of the regionalization committee.
Oh, you're calling it regionalization. Yeah, intergovernmental regionalization. Yeah, but if you put if we do it, but I am a bit concerned about it. Going along with Chris there, maybe we don't need a separate committee of just a couple of board members. So I think I'll vote not to have this committee. Just the staff bring everything to our meetings and we discuss it, and 7 heads may be better than 2, kind of a deal.
Thank you, Commissioner Lawrence. Vice Chair Rowland.
Yeah, so I definitely understand the concerns about committees and the issues with communication. I think that those bad communication in general, once that's there, it doesn't matter if you use committees or not. There's just that's the root problem. So I wouldn't say that committees in and of themselves create those communication problems. And I think that that's something that we as a board, at least I'm committed to making sure that we do better at, and that we're making sure we're keeping everybody involved in it. As part of that, whether that means having a secretary there present for certain meetings, maybe that's a good idea. That way we're capturing everything, because I know with my memory, I need to write things down. Beyond that, our role as commissioners is to provide civilian oversight of the fire department as well. And I think with these annexation conversations, especially, we do need to be at least tertiarily involved. We may not be having the main conversations, but just being there to ask questions or get information or understand the process, so that we make sure that we're representing the people in these matters, because especially with annexations, that it's an important issue. We're not only getting more tax revenue, which was sometimes the focus, but we're taking on more responsibilities. We're taking on a larger organization. We're taking on a lot of issues that may not be directly related to the fire department, but the fire department's going to have to deal with. We know that some of our stations deal with the homeless crisis a lot more than others, or drug issues or things like that. So whenever we're dealing with these going into these areas, I think that we need to have our eyes open, and I think that making sure that as many people are involved as possible. Unfortunately, with the Open Meeting Act, we either have to have a full meeting like this every single time we discuss it, and take up a lot of time of it, or allow the committee to kind of bring both the cliff notes and hopefully the detailed notes. And we all should be just having those discussions here as a board, and be open and honest with each other. I don't think that preventing us from ever having committees is going to solve that issue. I think we need to solve it, besides it, and use committees for what they're best at. And that's delegating out certain, tasks, so that we don't have to have everybody on calls every single week or twice a week.
Thank you, Commissioner Rowland. Commissioner Chan.
Yeah, I think let's talk about a little bit of history. I think in the past, first of all, annexation, whatever it is, commission is the one who signed on the dotted line. So commissioner need to get involved, but is a collaborative way with the chief. Okay, adding value. A lot of them is friendship, is knowing. I know the council member there, and it is a lot of time. Fight is one long history. We basically commissioner have relationship with the council member, and staff have the relationship with the staff. It is, I don't, what happened is, before we actually have different commissioner have relationship. I was a Mukatu commissioner. I think Commissioner Kenny was with Breyer or something like that. That relationship is critical. So, and I completely agree with exactly what Commissioner Rowan has said, because many of the situation, we cannot. Yeah, I think Commissioner Rowan had pointed out the whole things in there. This is nothing new. Actually, we actually consolidate all these representing, relationship into one group, so that we can be consistent with any other city we do. I think Commissioner Kenny probably can have some input on that. I don't see any commission on that would be a liability. Because if you have knowledge and relationship, you're actually adding to it, not not subtracting from it.
Thank you, Commissioner Chan. Any other discussion? Oh, Chief Hovis.
Just in full transparency, commissioners, as you know, I was a Mount Lake Terrace prior firefighter hired April 30th of 1996. I started with a contract, before any of the sitting commissioners here, even Commissioner Chan and Commissioner Kenny, through an interlocal agreement in 2001, we started working together. And we didn't have council support at the time to do a contract for service until some election cycles happened. And in 2005, I became a District 1 employee. Part of the relationships that we have with the city of Briar and Mount Lake Terrace are historical. We are coming up on the 2-year notification window unless we want the existing contract for service to roll over for another 5-year period. And that date is upon us, January 18th of 2023. I bring this ask to you on behalf of the city of Mount Lake Terrace, City Manager Scott Hugel, and the 3 council members, your counterparts, that have been formed into a committee, because we can certainly go down as staff and have conversations and bring back to work session for discussion intergovernmental issues. But I think we're getting to the point where the city of Mount Lake Terrace Council is going to recommend to the city a ballot measure to annex into the RFA to get to where we need to be to have this contract city of 18 plus years fully annex into the RFA, to be the 3rd city, the first that's a contract city ever, Mount Lake Terrace, join our RFA. And I think Briar's going to go at a different time, and how Briar does it might be different than Mount Lake Terrace. But what I don't want to do is get ahead of the commission. Staff is not signatory to the agreements, and I'll use an analogy Chief Isotale and I talked about. If you're a skier, I don't want to get out ahead of my skis. And as part of that, you commissioners are stakeholders with that, and you have some interested counterparts at the city of Mount Lake Terrace that may want to meet with a number of you as we go through this process. I've been on every angle of this for regionalization. I've been a union leader. I've been a chief. But with council members when I was a city employee. And I think it's very important, if we have the 3 legs of the stool, like we talked about before, alignment, hopefully with our administration and our governance, hopefully our union, and also that 4th leg of the chair, the public, that's going to vote on a ballot measure to get us where we need to get to. Because at the end of the day, we are leading to meet the growing public safety needs of our regional communities. And this ask I bring to you is specific to the city of Mount Lake Terrace, because it comes on behalf of conversation with City Manager Hugel. So whatever you decide, commissioners, we are okay with it as staff. We will move forward to do exactly what we need to do what our goals are, which is to have our contract cities annex into the RFA. But it's a process, and we want you to be part of it. And with that, that's all I've got tonight, Commission.
Thank you, Chief Hovis. Commissioner Lawrence.
Yes, Chief. Do you and the staff want a committee, or you would prefer to just work with the whole board?
We can make either work, but I think the expectation is, since the city of Mount Lake Terrace has appointed a 3-person committee, that they would like a reciprocal type committee for the RFA for governance to governance discussions, or staff and governance discussions from both parties.
Okay, thank you.
Vice Chair Rowland.
I don't think did we officially make the motion for this and word it out? If not, I'd like to go forward and make that motion that we form this intergovernmental, call it the Intergovernmental Committee, but with the specific duties assigned to it to work with annexation arrangements and talks with those cities. No scope outside of that unless assigned at a future date.
We're actually having a discussion about the regionalization committee, so we can go ahead and move forward on that motion. And then if that fails, we can move forward with your motion.
Then I would just suggest we amend it with the standard intergovernmental committee name.
Okay. Is there a second for the amendment? Commissioner Lawrence. All right. All those in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Motion passes. So now let's vote on the motion of the passing the Intergovernmental Regionalization Committee. All those in favor of creating the committee, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed by the same? Motion passes. Oh, we got 1 nay. Okay. And at this time, thank you for creating the committee. I will appoint Vice Chair Rowland and Commissioner Chan to that committee.
Thank you.
All right, committee updates.
Thank you, commissioners. Thank you, Chair.
Committee updates with Vice Chair Rowland.
Yes, so as far as the bylaws revisement committee, we did meet to discuss the candidates for hiring a parliamentarian. I'm reaching out to them right now, trying to get a hold of all of them to schedule a quick little, 10-minute, 15-minute interviews with each of them so that we can bring forward a recommendation of the board for your approval. And that's the extent of the update that I have for you. Thank you.
Any questions? All right. Seeing none, we'll go on to commissioner comments. Any commissioners wish to make any comments? Vice Chair Rowland.
Just want to acknowledge and send condolences to the family of Councilwoman Christiana Johnson over in the city of Edmonds. She passed away. I knew her through some of the political organizations that I worked with, and she worked really hard in that job, and she'll be missed. So,
thank you, Commissioner Chan. You're muted.
Yeah, definitely. Christina Johnson and I have a pretty good relationship, especially both work on Snow 911. And I a couple of comments make it. It says that she was known to ask lots of questions. She wasn't afraid to challenge the majority opinion. That's how it was during Snow 911. And she also fiscal conservative. But then she also drafted zero waste. In the Snow 911 in summer 2021, so in the one of the Snow 911 meeting afterwards, I wanted to discuss her with the issues. I said, how are you doing? She said, I'm in the hospital. I said, wait a minute, you just on a committee meeting. So she was actually in a Zoom meeting in her hospital bed, which I didn't realize that. And it's amazing that the lady, unfortunately, I cannot visit her in the hospital, so I would give her some flowers and follow up with that. So it is a really sad day for the Edmonds, city of Edmonds. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Chan. Any other commissioners? All right. Let's go ahead and move into executive session. So the first one is, this will be, we'll just make it one long session. And so the first part will be to consider the selection of a site or the acquisition of real estate by lease or purchase pursuant to RCW 42.30.110 1BC. And then Melissa, can you read off the part B for the CBA?
Sorry, collective bargaining pursuant to RCW 42.30.144B. What would you like me to read?
That, what we need to read off. And then part C, eventually we'll get to evaluate qualifications of a candidate for public office pursuant to RCW 42.30.1101H. So at this time, let's go ahead and move into executive session.
Chair Daniels?
Yes.
Just point of order, do you anticipate any action being taken at the conclusion of the executive sessions?
Potentially.
Okay.
And also the time too, how much time?
Yep.
Let's start off
was the second.
with, thank you. Let's start off with, for all three, let's start off with an hour. I don't see us, hopefully we won't have to extend it, but let's just start off with an hour.
Well, okay. Easier to shorter and then you extend right then.
It'll be an
Giving
hour.
yeah. So it's easier to extend, but if we do not do that, we have to sit there for an hour. If we finish early. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that we were a captive audience for 60 minutes. Sorry. Then we will start off with 30 minutes.
Yeah, thank you.
And then you should all have the link to the executive session in your email.
The executive session has been extended for 30 minutes. The executive session has been extended for 30 minutes. The executive session has been extended for 20 minutes. The executive session has been extended for 5 minutes. The regular meeting was brought back to order at 9:43 p.m. and without objection, the regular meeting has been adjourned at 9:43 p.m.